all ages, welcome back. Guess what is in the shop again? That's right, the Hornet. It is back in the shop, and we found the problem. All right, so if you look over here, we have a 360 Swapped Hornet that's super awesome, and it's back in the shop again, which means it drove here. We did not trailer it. So, you're all probably dying to know what the problem is, what made the Hornet die in the middle of the road. We're gonna keep that.
We're gonna just keep that in there.
This is unscripted, folks, all right? We're gonna keep that. We drove the car, well, Steve drove the car home, a block and a half from his house, started to sputter, and it died right in the middle of the road, as I said in the previous video. We pushed it to his garage, and that's where it sat for the night. For the next 2 days, maybe? 3 days, I think. Steve worked feverishly checking and rechecking and verifying everything on this engine, everything, checking timing, checking firing order, sorting out problems with the fuel system, checking over the carburetor. Eventually, what he found resided inside the distributor. So, without further ado, the problem with the Hornet was a broken ground wire on the condenser for the points inside the distributor. I'll show you what that looks like here.
I like it. And it's got a nice strong magnet like this, so you can just stick it anywhere.
Yep. Yeah, for those of you watching, this is what we're talking about up here. These are magnetic lights that you can get from Harbor Freight. I think this one right here is maybe 40 or 50 bucks. It has several different light intensity settings, as you can see by the brightness of the back of Steve's head, right? So like this one is flashlight, then we have like X-ray, and then we have solar flare. This one works pretty good. All right, so we'll get you guys in here. Those of you who know what points and condenser setup looks like, this is all familiar to you. It's kind of hard to see because the condenser kind of resides underneath. It's this little silver guy right here. All right, and then over here, I think, is it this wire, the blue one?
Yeah.
So the blue wire back here is the ground wire for the condenser, right here. So would you agree, Steve, that the condenser in a points ignition system acts basically like a suppressor on like an inductive contactor or an inductive load?
Sure.
I believe that's how it works, is that the voltage that is induced by when the magnetic field breaks on the coil gets sent to the distributor shock or the tower to get sent out to each spark or each spark plug, but there's also current that goes the other way, and the condenser is what picks that up on the point side. So that's why when the ground wire broke, and what was happening was the ground wire in here was broken and would occasionally make contact and allow the engine to run. But if there was enough vibration and that wire moved just enough to not ground anymore, this thing would crank and it would fire 1 or 2 cylinders and then die over and over and over again. So actually, I think we found that answer by, you had submitted a question on an AMC group on Facebook, believe it or not.
Yep. And
amongst the flood of all the possible answers, there was one guy that said, hey, check the ground wire for the condenser and the distributor. And that, ladies and gentlemen, kids, people of all ages, whatever, that was the smoking gun. So, since then, this car has had the oil changed in it. Steve's driven it around a little bit, has verified that it starts up and runs reliably, or at least repeatably. Today it's back in the shop. We are going to do a couple of things to get this car ready for the Father's Day car show, which is happening tomorrow. Today is Saturday, tomorrow's Sunday, Father's Day. The very first show that this car was in was the show we are trying to go back to tomorrow. So, first thing we're after is we're gonna check total timing, then we're gonna look at bleeding the brakes, and then we have a broken off bolt in the transmission crossmember.
Think about a time I almost lost you. I know, I was lost too. Had dreams and I lost a few. In flight we enjoyed this view. Floating on the same wing, that's some flight shit. Window seat, knock feet, you're my sidekick. Always wanna run, can't find no one to run with. All these young kids wanna party screaming come with. But you won't don't take their advice, you make your own. Came here to live a life, make your own. I'm just being...
All right, survey says, without vacuum advance connected, 5 degrees base, which I know seems low, but we are running vacuum advance on here. So with the vacuum advance hooked up, it's 15 degrees base timing. Full timing without vacuum advance is 28 degrees. The vacuum advance adds 10 to 12, so roughly 40-ish, 41 degrees at cruise. So quite a bit of advance, but it seems like it drives pretty well. We are going to take it for a test drive in a little while just to verify that, but that's where we're going to start. I know you guys are dying to know about our checklist on the whiteboard. So just so that everybody can watch and see, okay, this one is done. And technically, did you repair the fuel line? You did.
I did.
You did repair the fuel line. The brake is still not dragging anymore, maybe. We're gonna fix that today. Floor pan, no. Carb, fine. It's fine. That's right. The engine base painted, you see that? It's gone. The Datsun, look at this. Cross member, huh? That's it. The Isuzu, yeah, we definitely sold it. Sorry. And the Oldsmobile did get a trans. Sorry I didn't film that. All right, so first thing we're gonna go after is Steve replaced the soft line from the body to the rear axle, and I'll show you guys that. So we're gonna go after bleeding the rear brakes. I think we introduced some air back there. Right now the car's up on the hoist. I'm gonna be sitting on a stool. We're gonna try a combination of typical pedal bleeding. Otherwise I do have a vacuum bleeder we could try. Okay, so you see the new soft line right here. And yes, it does rest on the exhaust, only at full droop. This is another item. It didn't make the whiteboard, you're probably wondering, right? We will fix that eventually. But for today, here's the new soft line. Hits the junction block here, goes to both wheels. So we're gonna start with this one here. I'm gonna start with this wheel right here. You guys have seen this before. I don't think I need to show you how to bleed brakes, but that's what we're gonna do now. Okay, so I retract what I previously said. We're going to use this first. We're just going to try this because then if it doesn't work, I can steal the hose off of this and we can manually bleed this. But if you guys have ever used one of these, the only thing that I can say about them is you do need a fairly decent sized compressor. We tried to run this tool with a pancake compressor and it did not have enough air volume to pull vacuum on the brake line long enough. So the basics of how this works, you hook this up to your air compressor, you put your wrench on there on the bleeder screw, and then you push this nipple or this hose over the brake bleeder. You pull vacuum on this first to basically pull a vacuum of the whole pot here, then you crack the bleeder and it should suck all the air and the fluid out. Every once in a while you will run into, and I have run into, air leaks that develop where the bleeder screw screws into the wheel cylinder itself. Sometimes around those threads you can get an air leak, and this thing will just continuously pull air as well as fluid and you won't get anywhere bleeding your brakes. One of the ways to fix that is to have an assistant push the brake pedal while you're under vacuum and the bleeder is open. Gently push the pedal to give a big gush of fluid. That'll help to get all of the air bubbles that are trapped in the line to come out with it while you're sucking on it with the vacuum. So that's what we're going to try to work on here. Yeah, go ahead and jump in the car. So we did get a little bit of fluid. I don't know how well you guys can see that. We did get a little bit of fluid out the first time, but we were getting a ton of air bubbles as well. So what we're going to try now is, like I talked about, I'm going to pull vacuum on this pot, open the bleeder, and then Steve's going to push the pedal gently to just give us a good gush of fluid to see if we can't force all the air out of the line. Okay, the bleeder's open. Go ahead and gently push the pedal. So we got a little bit of fluid that time, but I don't really think it actually pulled clean. I think we're still pulling air somewhere. So you may actually have to push it just a little bit harder. Let's try again. Yeah, not working, not getting it. So we may have to do this the old way. All right, well, okay, now test the pedal once. Yeah, better? Okay, are you in park? Oh, you want to put it in neutral? All right, so I'm rotating the wheel. Go ahead and push the pedal. Okay, good. Okay, so I don't think that the vacuum bleeder is going to work in this situation because it's just pulling too much air. Okay, quick update here. So we bled the brakes, got some air out of the rear ones, redid the front ones, checked the front wheel bearings, and now we are going to solve another problem that happened during the engine swap on this car. When we took the transmission crossmember out, I don't know how well you guys can see this. When we took the transmission crossmember out, this is it right here, it's actually held to the car by 2 studs on either side that then have nuts on them. What we found out is if you just put an impact on this nut, it'll pull the whole stud if these threads are at all gummed up, and believe me, these are. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, if you can see under here, one of those snapped off. Steve tried to drill it out unsuccessfully, probably tried to use an easy out and probably broke it off like they normally do. So what we're gonna do now is throw the transmission jack up under the trans and rip the cross member out, and then in LS fashion, all you LS guys will appreciate this, right? We're gonna weld a nut right to that and we're gonna hopefully back it out. It did, yep. So we know what you guys were saying the whole time. Welding a nut to that wasn't going to work. Okay, we tried 4 or 5 times, and guess what? It didn't work. So we are changing plans here, and in my hand is what I'm going to term the self-tapper of success. And you can make as much fun of us as you want because we don't care. All right, so I don't know what's going on, but my neighbor is over there just going to town with the chainsaw. So if you hear that in the background, I'm sorry, but go ahead and fire it up. Deer. Oh, all right. Great. It sounds pretty good though. It does. Sounds happy.
Another deer. Right in the road.
Oh wow. You guys can see that or not? It's a big one. Right
the horn works?
in the middle of the road. Look at that. I don't know about where you guys live, but these are things we have to deal with. Worry about smacking one of those. It's 60 miles an hour. Oh, yeah. You guys can't tell, but this thing definitely makes a lot more seat of the pants torque. obviously an old engine and we reshelled the bottom end, but we are trying to take it easy for the first couple 100 miles. So hopefully we'll get a burnout here for you soon, but we need to put some more miles on this thing before then. This thing's idling a little bit low, like probably 600 RPM. It sounds okay, but when you're in drive or reverse, it's loaded down a little bit, so it's going down to probably 500 RPM when that happens. So we're gonna idle it up just a little bit. Alright, so here it is idling at roughly 750 RPM. Go ahead and just put it in reverse again. See what it sounds like when it's loaded down with the fans. Alright, that's where we're going to end this one on the Hornet. The next day, after the last clip that you saw, that car made a 90 mile round trip to the car show that we were prepping it for. Drove there and back with minimal issues. I think we still have a rear brake that is squealing. Otherwise, it ran good, ran smooth, and at 60-65 miles an hour all the way there and back, it didn't have any trouble, at least that I know of. Hopefully you guys got some satisfaction out of figuring out what the problem was. I know we were really relieved when we figured it out, and actually I should say when Steve figured it out. Little known fact, my name is also Steve. We call us Steve Squared or Steve.0. There are many other parts that Steve bought last year to put on that car to make further upgrades. I know we have a full suspension bushing kit for that thing. I know we're planning on lowering the front end to try to improve the stance. Stay tuned, there is more content coming on that car. For those of you who are subscribed and who are watching the videos, thank you so much for that. That's super motivating and it makes me really excited to keep on doing this. We're up to 68 subscribers now. That may seem like small potatoes, but I think we can hit 100 and do something fun. If you're not subscribed, consider hitting that button. It's free to you and it will help the channel grow. Thanks a lot for everybody who's watched. Thanks to Steve, thanks to my wife, and his son, and everybody that's helped us and been tolerant with us while we worked on that car. Turned out really cool, and there's a lot more cool stuff coming on that car. So have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.